Hi, I'm Thomas Broadhead. I'm the editor of the Critical Performance edition of the Ives Fourth Symphony. In this video, I'm going to talk about another edit to the notation that was requested by a conductor who had previously used the old 1965 score to learn the piece and wanted things to appear more or less the way it had in that edition regarding certain aspects of the notation. So without further ado, here we go. Here's a passage in the second movement where the strings are doing, the violins that is, are doing this rhythm that goes dum ba dum bum 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 ba dum bum, and the beams are just showing how things are phrased. They're not indicating that these are triplets on quarter beats, but I saw an orchestra rehearse this passage where the violins mistook these groups for triplets the first time they read through them. This was with the old 1965 score, but I noted that. I thought, well, you know, when it comes time to do the critical edition, we need to ensure that no one misreads the rhythm here. So how could that be fixed? Well, very simply, like this, just changing the beams so that they match the actual beats in question of the meter that they're going to be following. So bum ba dum 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 bum. So that takes care of it in the full score. And in the parts, this is how it looks, of course. Dum ba dum bum ba dum bum ba dum, and so on. So that seemed to take care of the problem, or at least it just wasn't present, you know, because this was the way that I had edited it from the start. And with the premiere and moving forward, everyone was doing it just fine. And then a conductor I will not name, the same one who had the issue with the measure 65 passage and the fourth movement, felt that this looked mechanical to him. And he had his orchestra librarian re-beam everything here to match the old beaming from the 65 score. Again, this is a case where I believe the conductor was just so accustomed to the way things appeared in the 65 score that he was off-put by the differences that he was having to negotiate in the new material. And I heard him rehearse this passage first with the beams as I had presented them here, and it sounded just fine. And then after he had the orchestra librarian midway through the week, you know, recopy all of this for other players, do it again, and I could discern absolutely no difference in the execution of the rhythm. It sounded exactly the same to me, but somehow it was more satisfying to him to hear them play reading from the original beaming of this. So to ensure that, you know, no one would ever have to, you know, recopy this again, I thought, well, I can provide the original beaming on an OSIA staff. And so this is what I did in the parts. The rebeamed passage appears, as I said, on a Q-size staff below the main staff. And there's some other places where there were some rhythms that were adjusted to fit the beat pattern that would not result in a Fernie Howe-esque kind of notation. And on those places as well, because he had also singled them out, I said, well, you know, maybe there's something to this that I'm not grasping, and so let me trust a conductor who's, you know, done this piece successfully in the past and, you know, stave off any kind of problems that might occur in the future with the conductor who might have the same issue. So I did it in those places as well. I'm not going to show you those because this is enough just to show this. But then of course, there needs to be something in the full score to show that this has been done in the parts, so that if a conductor should have an issue with, you know, this analytical beaming, that they will know that the parts have an alternative beaming. I did this to the full score. Here, there's a footnote at the bottom of the page showing this revised beaming of the old 1965 beaming, with the note saying original beaming provided as OSIA and violins and saxophone. And I've retained the analytical beaming that's following, you know, the beat pattern of the meter in question, because I really feel that is what people will be playing from. And in fact, most people told me that that's what they were reading, and that was the thing that, you know, made it easiest for them to negotiate the passage. But it was just an odd problem that there was, you know, a seasoned conductor who had learned the piece using the old score, who was so accustomed to the way that it appeared that way, that it was jarring to him to see it done differently. And he insisted that there was a difference in the way that players would be executing the material when it was rebeamed as I had done it. I thought, well, okay, I can't hear a difference, but maybe I'm just not grasping some fine point in the articulation of that rhythm. And so I deferred to his suggestion and added these things in. Maybe it's a bit overkill, but maybe it's going to help someone out somewhere.